Want to know the secret behind the most successful product teams? Well, it's not about frameworks or certifications. The highest performing product organizations approach team building like championship sports teams, but with intentional collaboration, defined roles, and a culture of productive, sometimes tension. Well, I'm Ross Webb, and after leading product teams at places like Amazon, Just Eat, and beyond, I've discovered that just like winning sports teams need both individual excellence and seamless teamwork, product organizations need four essential elements to thrive. And today I'm bringing you insights from product leaders who have mastered these elements and built teams that consistently deliver results. Think about the last time you were in a team that just clicked, where everyone knew their role. They all supported each other and they drove towards shared goals. That's what we're going to help you create. And this episode of Product Team Success is brought to you by Top Rods, the community where we're putting productivity back in product management. We have an incredible lineup on the show today, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Starting off with the always brilliant Phil Hornby. He'll be sharing his innovative three hats approach to breaking down silos. Then Becca Cooke is going to be revealing how to create genuine engineering collaboration. Flanagan is going to be explaining the critical balance between product and engineering. And then the awesome Katherine Cunliffe is going to be showing us how to build strong relationships in remote teams. And then Mel McVie is going to be demonstrating how to build diverse, complementary teams that amplify each other's strengths. Now, starting off with you, Phil, let's start with your three hats approach. How can product leaders create natural collaboration across teams while maintaining clear ownership?
Okay, I've got an approach on how to create a unifying sort of element of a team in that respect. I call it my three hats. So my three hats are: you have your portfolio, so that would be your silo that you already had. You have a specialist area that you're the leader within the organization on. And for example, in my last product organization, one guy came from a German university with a PhD in data science and machine learning. He dealt with anything machine learning across the entire business. And if there was something on any product that was related to that, he was involved. Another guy came from the guys who invented MP3. Anything to do with mobile technology, he took that one on. And so it created this matrix of people talking to each other because they were involved in each other's product work because of that depth of knowledge. Then we had a third one we called the focus subject, which was a 2-year mission to grow the skills and capabilities in the organization. So I invest in their development, them going off and learning things. One of my team wanted to know about contract law and intellectual property. I couldn't think of anything more dull, but he was really interested. I'll pay for the training. Every time we negotiate a contract, you are in the room, and you've got to teach us all on our team off-sites. And we did our one-to-ones. You talked about a team session at the start of the week. We used to do a stand-up every day for the product management department. And in there, it's the standard thing of what happened yesterday I need to know about. Don't tell me about your meetings. What are you focusing on today? What help do you need? The key thing was the office hours that followed. So it was 15 minutes stand-up and 45 minutes of office hours where everyone was blocked and available to help each other. At the end of that 15 minutes, the help that was needed is, Amir, you go help Emmanuel for the next 45 minutes. Keith, I'm coming to help you. And that forced us to care and help each other. Half the time I found in one-to-ones, my team were coming to me and saying, I need help with this. And I'd kind of look back at them and say, the person who can help is sat next to you. And I need to create that collaborative culture.
That's brilliant, Phil. I love how you've created a system that naturally encourages cross-team collaboration through shared expertise. Those office hours are particularly powerful because they create dedicated time for people to help each other. This kind of structured collaboration is exactly what many product teams are missing and they really need. Now, speaking of collaboration, Becca, many product managers struggle with engineering relationships. What's your approach to creating true partnership versus just delegation?
If you're in a situation where you are being expected to provide like literally granular, infinitesimal level of detail into every single story and know exactly how it needs to be written, and you're being very prescriptive, one, I find that any talented member of an engineering department they hate that, right? If they are talented, they want to have a bit of flair in what they're doing and a bit of a say in what they should be putting. And you shouldn't really presume to know better than they are about exactly what should be done. It should be a collaboration, clearly, but you can't presume that. But if you're being expected to write that level of detail, the amount of work that a product manager has to do in the various different areas, that in and of itself is a pretty much, I think 80% of your time is spent writing stories granular, and then you are going into these refinement sessions to basically read them for them. There's really nothing there that's collaborative in that at all. For me, you're right. If someone's really engaged, give me the problem. Let's talk about what the potential solutions might be. That is for me the nirvana state. And it's been lovely when I've had teams that you bounce off of everybody and everybody has an equal voice within that team. That's lovely. And where you have the opportunity within a company to be able to promote that within your team, you should absolutely go for it. It really does help with delivery and quality and cadence because everyone is firing on all cylinders and you can get loads of stuff done. But I think understanding what the makeup of the role of product management is, and what are your strengths, what are your passions, where do you want to be, and actually looking at like, can I spend 80% of my time writing stories when I've got all of this other stuff to do? Should I be spending my time doing that? Typically, the answer is probably no, because actually there's lots of other things you also need to be doing. To your point, answering the CEO's point of, I need my teams to have work doing. I was always trying to, when I had my own backlogs, I would look at trying to have approximately 100 stories in that backlog of varying levels of kind of completeness. Some might be just a title, some closer to the sprint timeline that would have more detail in it, and we would be actively refining. I don't like the term grooming your backlog. I think that's just hideous. So there's all sorts of horrible terms for that. Basically, the cycle of refinement of your backlog. But if you're looking at saying 100 stories there or thereabouts should be about a quarter of work. So if anyone's coming down chasing at you going, what have you got planned? What are we working on? What's the team working on? You can always turn around and go, here's the list of 100 things. And if you want to pick something from the bottom, we can't do it next sprint because we need to refine that stuff a bit more. But hey, it's there, thereabouts. That's hard to get to when you're literally working, firefighting one sprint ahead all the time. And so understanding what are you trying to set out and what's the level of quality that you should be putting in all the time, that's a really important thing, I think, to self-management and understanding. For me personally, back when I started, it was all Post-its and whiteboards. So my team would get on the front, here's the title of the story. On the back of the Post-it, here's my initial kind of, this is what it should be, the problem. And then that was the start of our refinement. That was the starting point. I would, if they were expecting me to write War and Peace on a story, I'm like, okay, you can do the rest of the work I've got to do today then. No, I was just to say, you're absolutely right. The bigger the company, I find, the harder it is to make an impact, definitely. But also, it can sometimes feel, like you say, very isolating. If you are just like waiting for my turn to speak and you go, that sounds really cool, but I can't possibly like engage with that person because we've both got loads of things to do and actually technically there's no reason for it. If it is possible to have a wider product community within the company, I find that is a great place to start, because as long as you're building into that kind of that idea of mutual, it's probably the same with the community you've got, right? Is that thing of going, what are our mutual interests? What are the things that we both would like to learn, either how to do better, or we both want to experiment on a different way of working with the team, or we've both got some challenges and come together in a smaller unit but work together. Having peers and people that you can feel like you have those relationships, that wider network, is so important, even if there isn't on paper a reason for you to have that network with that particular person because your products are entirely different, for example. Yeah. So there isn't one size fits all. I think you have to work out within yourself and with your team, what sort of team do you have? What sort of dynamic do you have? Is everyone engaged, or do people actively come wanting to get something out of those sessions? Or I found that there have been some times when engineers feel like they're being dragged in. Everyone finds that they're painful, and therefore no one really wants to be doing them. So having a broad and open discussion about what are we doing for these things and why is a really good thing. To get people engaged, more than just it being a monologue of product manager speaking to the team, I always prefer handing the keyboard over to someone else in the team. Anyone. In fact, you could pick a new person every single refinement session if you wanted to. That person should be the scribe. That person should be the one that's asking the team questions and engaging and trying to get people to actually come out of their shell a little bit. The product manager shouldn't necessarily be the one that's, okay, now what do we need to make sure we've got on here and what questions do you guys have? It should be a collaborative thing. So I find that really works. If you put the onus on different people within the team, it invites them to actually actively participate as well as help to lead those sessions as well.
Well, what really stands out there, Becca, is your point about empowering engineers to contribute to solutions rather than just handing them specifications. That shift, I think, from prescription to collaboration can transform team dynamics. Now, Brian, this ties perfectly into your thoughts on healthy tension between product and engineering. How do you create an environment where challenge leads to better outcomes?
There's no more telling metric for outcome, particularly of failure, as a misalignment between engineering and product and design. The three legs of a stool have to be lockstep, aligned, 100% agree that there should be healthy tension between them, because products like going, build me more, build me faster. And engineering's role is to say, we need to do it. It's going to be, this is a triple extra large t-shirt, or this is super extra small. We can do this in less than a sprint, like that kind of thing. But there has to be that sort of mutual respect where product goes to them and it doesn't just say, in the same way that they don't want their leadership coming on them, they shouldn't be going to the engineers going, build it like this. What they should go to is, it should be a conversation between the product leadership and engineering leadership. There's a conversation that says, here's the feature that we want to do. How's the best way to build that? And so when you make that differentiation between product owning the what and engineering owning the how, that makes it really clear as to who makes the call and stuff. And the best part is when you empower your engineering team, they've got their hands in the code all the time. And so when you have those discussions, they go, this is really hard, but if we do it this way, it will take us a little longer, but we get all these additional advantages. And also with that, when product goes to them with a longer term view, engineering is already thinking in the back of their mind, okay, so we have to build the architectural runway to support this. As I think about what I'm building, how does that line up with this longer term play? So you don't get to a point where you've painted yourself into a corner and then you're like, what do I do now? And that's right. Because they go, oh, sorry, we got to refactor the code. That's 6 months. And you go, that's just terrible. You can't fully avoid it, but you can certainly mitigate it or preemptively solve it, where you say, this is where we're going, so let's be prepared. I'm going to ask you for these things. You start thinking about how we sequence them, what gets built when, what implications are there of doing different things. And I think that makes a big difference in terms of everybody feeling like they own something. As soon as you start talking about hiring for PMs, I hire for curiosity. The interview questions are things like, tell me about a time where you had to solve a really difficult problem, or tell me about a time where stuff went off the rails. How did you solve it? Or tell me about a time where you found a really unusual customer problem. How did you find it? And you can teach someone to follow process. You can't teach someone to be curious. And there's people who just are curious innately. It's like people who can sell, right? There's people who are salespeople and they're really good at it. I am not that person, but I have a ton of respect for people who are. They can walk into any room, take rejection after rejection, just keep coming back for more, work in different angles, bringing the right people in, asking the right questions. Like a good salesperson is gold, right? But I think you're born with it. It's like being in marketing. How do you find these people who just can find the right idea or bring the right mood that evokes the right thing and brings the right outcome to happen? Some things can be taught, but I think curiosity is one of those things that you just have or you don't.
That's such a crucial distinction, Brian. I'm really glad you brought that up, because product owning the what and engineering owning the how, it's awesome. When teams understand and respect these boundaries while still challenging each other constructively, that's where the magic happens in my experience. Now, Katherine, these relationships become even more critical in remote settings. So how do you build these crucial connections when teams aren't physically together?
So forming strong relationships, I think a lot of people are probably working more hybrid. And in my instance, there's kind of some of my team are actually fully remote. And what I'm noticing is the lack of building strong relationships is more prevalent in a business that is remote. And that actually has such a negative effect in terms of building relationships, especially with, people in other departments that maybe you're not working with on a day-to-day basis. It's very easy to get into silos. So you have to go a bit above and beyond to take that time to with people and to recognize that they're human. So it is actually, you are remote. And if you can, like, meet up, face to face, have a discussion, but don't talk about work. Like, try to find something that you have in common. And it's almost just like meeting someone and like, kind of trying to have a conversation. I think there's so many people that like don't do enough networking, or they don't get out and they're not having those discussions, like almost forgetting how to do that. And that's like such an essential part to forming a strong relationship, because if you have that strong relationship, and especially if you're in a working environment where you're going to be having a lot of debates with someone, and it's going to be really hard, but you haven't formed that strong relationship in terms of like, oh, I know so-and-so has like 3 kids and, they really like running and all this kind of stuff. And they're like this, they're just something in your way. And then that's, and that causes a real challenge, I think, especially for product managers and product leaders, in terms of actually being able to even do their job. So, I think the biggest thing I think we're forgetting to do in our remote world is actually going out and having that drink or just making time to let's just have a chat. Like, how's it going? And just get to know you a little bit. That's something I'm noticing. Yeah, no worries. No, and if you don't mind, I guess maybe elaborating on it. And for a product leader, strong relationship with your engineering leader or your tech leaders, is really important. And so if this makes it into the podcast and he watches it, says he he'll know. Like, so my current director of technology who I work with my colleague, we have to have a good working relationship because we disagree quite a lot. And actually at a round table this year where this came up in terms of that kind of relationship with, CTO, CPO, or, those conversations, and like, should it be one or it should have in terms of CTPO and all that kind of, having that conversation. And I was like, I actually quite like the constant kind of debating, but that it's easier for us to do because we have a good relationship. Like, I know a lot about him. We'll go get a drink after work, kind of decompress. So I like that's something that really, really is, in terms of that strong relationship, that has enabled us to create like a really good team. They work well together, really resilient in terms of, the challenges that we've been up against. And so I just thought I'd throw that in as like a bit more of a practical example.
I couldn't agree more, Katherine. Those informal connections are so vital. It's not just about work relationships. It's about understanding the whole person. That foundation of trust makes everything else possible. Now, Mel, moving over to you. Everything we've discussed points to the importance of team composition. Can you share your approach to building teams that are stronger than the sum of their parts?
I think that the benefit of that is that the collective and the community is stronger than the individual. And one of the best pieces of, say, career advice I was given is hire for your blind spots, right? And so if you're strong in one area, that's great. Amplify it, accelerate it, etc. So I'm naturally a very creative product person, loads of vision. I can deliver. I've done a lot of shipping, but actually I benefit from a very strong team around me that are operational, right? So that balances out between, the full collective of the team. Same with the analysts. Yeah. I work very well and create teams. It just isn't just about me, the collaboration is actually the driving force of the growth because it's 5 minds on it or it's 4 minds. And again, like talking to some, people that I've been working with recently and old colleagues, even the designers, all right, they're taking a lot of the skills that we had in our last roles into the new roles. And a lot of designers don't have that skill, and they should, right? Because they look at it then from a design or a brand lens. You get a really good designer, an analyst, and a product person, and actually a really good tech lead. There's some incredible magic can happen. But it's knowing at that leadership level, they all need to know enough to be dangerous. And when you put everyone together, they become really powerful.
What I love about that perspective, Mel, is how it acknowledges both individual excellence and also team synergy. Your point about everyone needing to know enough just to be dangerous while bringing their unique strengths really, really resonates with me. So remember, building high-performing product teams isn't about just following a blueprint. It's about creating the right environment for collaboration, challenge, and growth. And here are your next steps. So subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're going to be bringing you more new insights on product leadership as often as we can. So to connect with our guests on LinkedIn to learn more about their approaches. And if you're ready to accelerate your product leadership journey, join us in the Top Prods community, where we provide the structure, accountability, and support to help you build and lead exceptional teams. Thanks for watching. And if you're ready to dive deeper in product leadership, watch this episode on the 4 pillars of product success. You'll find the link as I'm talking here and in the description. And until next time, I'm Ross Webb. Bye for now.